Hi guys, welcome to another session of News in 30 Minutes. Today, before getting on to the important issues of the day, one announcement is News in 30 Minutes will be on a break from 25th of December to 5th of Jan. This is the time where most of the aspirants will be taking a break and most of the aspirants will be having some time off. So we thought that we will also try to take a break from 25th of December to 5th of Jan. So news in 30 minutes will be off from 25th to 5th of Jan, and we will resume the news in 30 minutes from the 6th of January. Okay. However, when we come back, we will try to address all the important issues that has happened in these days of break or recess. So don't worry about it. The intimation is mainly for you people not to panic thinking that news in 30 minutes is stopped. We will never stop this initiative. The initiative will continuously and consistently run for the next 2-3 years for sure. So you don't have to worry about that. We will always be there to help you for your prelims as well as your mains preparation. However, from 25th to 5th Jan, we will be taking a break from the perspective of us being consistent for the last 3 months without taking any break. We thought that we will also have a break, and also it gives time for the students also to recollect, revise and relax. Okay, so try to recollect, revise and relax during these days so that you can reverberate whatever issues that has been running for the last 3 months. Okay, so with that, please make sure that you don't lose the habit of reading newspapers. Newspaper reading must continue. It is just that we will just take a break for these days and then we will get back to the same initiative every day. Okay. With that, now let us continue with the important issues on the 20th of December 2023. The first issue is about health, and especially we are talking about the concept of overweight or the concept of obesity. Okay, so the moment we talk about overweight or obesity, the perception that we have in our mind, or the myth that we have in our mind, is this is the problem of developed countries. This is the problem of developed countries. And the second myth that we have is it is the problem mainly seen in urban groups. It's a problem mainly seen in urban groups. Also, it is a problem that is seen in affluent communities. Okay, these are some of the perceptions that we have whenever we look at overweight or obesity. However, World Bank has come up with a report, okay, that says that this is not so. Okay, before I get into that report, let me just read the headlines. The headline says, tax HFSS food as a imperative for public health. Combined with nutrition literacy and effective food labeling, tax on HFSS foods, that is high fat and sugar salt foods, can help improve public health outcomes. Again, the author is trying to give 3 important aspects. If we have to improve the health profile of India, 3 verticals that the government has to work. One is it has to start imposing HFSS tax. As the name suggests, it is high fat sugar salt food tax. The second is it has to improve the nutrition literacy. The problem what is happening currently is in the social media, each and every video that we see is talking about nutrition. So what is authentic and what is genuine is something of a debate. Some people will term vegetarian as nutritious, some people term vegan as nutritious, some people term meat as nutritious. So there is a lot of confusion regarding the literacy of nutrition, and this has to be addressed. And the next is FSSI, and its role is very, very important in making sure that the food labeling is very, very effective. The problem is we are seeing the food telling that they are organic, which they may not be, telling that they are whole wheat when the percentage of wheat is very less and there is more maida in it. So such misleading information is always present in the labeling, and this has to be overcome. If they are telling that a product is Ayurvedic, they has to be very authentic. If it has to be, if the label tells that it is gluten free, then it has to be very, very authentic. And if the label tells if it is organic, then it has to be authentic. So whatever the label tells, however it is healthy, that has to be proved via the food labeling. Okay, so these are the three verticals that India has to work upon if it has to improve its health profile. Okay, that is what is the goal of the author. Now, as I told you, the breaking of myth of this. When we think of overweight and obesity, we usually think of developed countries, urban groups and affluent communities, but it is not so. How do we break the myth? These are the facts that I am going to give you that will break the myths. Now, where can you use this? You can use this in GS1 of society, and also you can use it in GS3 with respect to environment as well as the economical aspects. Okay, as well as demographical aspects. So all these places you can use these facts or information. Okay, now coming into the facts and information, the first thing is according to the World Bank report. According to the World Bank report 2019, according to this report, worldwide, if we take the entire worldwide, 70% of obesity, 70% of obesity or overweight, 70% of obesity or overweight are located in low and middle income countries. Look at this, 70% are located in low and middle income countries. The second is there is 55% rise of obesity in rural areas around the globe. Okay, there is 55% rise in obesity or overweight in rural areas around the globe. Okay, so the myth that we have that obesity is confined only to developed nation is wrong. The myth that we had that obesity and overweight is confined to urban areas is also wrong, because 70% of the overall obesity and overweight are in low and middle income countries, and the recent trend of 55% rise in obesity and overweight has been seen mainly in rural areas. Okay, this is the first important fact given by the World Bank report. The second is if we take the non-communicable diseases in India, okay, that can be cancer, that can be stroke, that can be cardiovascular diseases. These are some of the non-communicable diseases. If we take the non-communicable diseases, these have overtaken the communicable diseases. Okay, the incidence of non-communicable diseases are rising, and they have already overtaken the incidence of communicable diseases. When I say communicable diseases, these are diseases that are spread due to infection. It can be bacterial infection, viral infection. So those are communicable diseases. But non-communicable diseases are really lifestyle diseases. Okay, they are basically lifestyle diseases. It is basically because of our food habits, our sleep habits, okay, and our work habits. So food, work and sleep are the three things that decides the non-communicable disease incidence. And if we take the non-communicable disease incidence in India, the burden of NCDs were only 38% in 1990s, and this increased from 38%, it increased to 65% in 2019. Okay, so the non-communicable diseases, look at the rise, it is almost doubled. Okay, it is almost doubled in just 30 years. Now this is a very, very dangerous trend, because India being a young demographic profile and youths are coming under the diseases of cardiovascular, stroke, cancer, then this becomes very, very difficult for us to reap the dividend of the young demography. Okay, the third statistics that tells is, if you take the global burden of diseases study, there is a study done called global burden of diseases study. Okay, according to this study, annually in India we have 1.2 million deaths that can be attributed to dietary risks alone. Okay, that is another dangerous trend. Look at this, 1.2 million deaths in India occurs only because of our dietary risks alone. The reason is very simple. We are very, very inclined towards sweets, and we are very, very inclined towards carbohydrates. That is why the diabetic, India is known as the diabetic capital because of the enormous amount of diabetic, population, pre-diabetic population. So this dietary risks alone will contribute to almost 1.2 million deaths in India annually. This is according to the Global Burden of Diseases studies. Okay. The next is, the same study tells that the economic impact of overweight and obesity has resulted in $23 billion loss in 2017. In 2017, it resulted in the economic loss of almost $23 billion. Okay, the economic impact of overweight and obesity. And it also is estimated that if we leave it unattended, then this particular burden will rise to almost 480 billion by 2060. Okay, now look at this. Okay, again the figures become very, very huge. Okay, so this is the fourth information. The next information is globally what is happening is the tax on sugar sweetened beverages. This is widely popular. So if you take sugar sweetened beverages, the taxes on this is happening. But if you take India, this also is very low. The reason is because the Indian taxation system treats all the sugar sweetened beverages as the same, and because it treats all the sugar sweetened beverages as the same, it is going to tax all the beverages on the same lines. This should not be done. The taxation should be done on the basis of the nutrition. Greater the nutrition, lesser should be the tax. The taxation should be done on the basis of sugar. The greater the sugar, the more the tax. So you have to always have this relationship between nutrition and sugar. That is, nutrition is high, tax should be low. Sugar is high, tax should be high. Okay. In that way, India is still lagging behind this sugar sweetened beverages. That is one. The next is, if we take globally as well as India, in both the cases, if we take high fat sugar salt foods, HFSS foods, here both are lagging behind. Okay, in this case, both are lagging behind. Okay, so something, if I have to talk about Indian perspective, one, we have to improve our taxation system for sugar sweetened beverages on the correlation of nutrition and sugar. The second is, we have to also start imposing the high fat sugar salt foods, which we are also not comprehensively doing it. Okay, so finally, what was the example or a case study was Kerala. Kerala, that came up with in 2016, it came up with something called fat tax. So all those products that had sugary products, byproducts in them, obviously it was taxed high. However, this later on subsumed into GST. Okay, it later on subsumed into GST. But what the author tells is, now we have the GST, and within the GST, we have to create something called high fat sugar salt food tax. We have to create this, and this cannot be an umbrella tax for all the sugary product. As I told you, it has to create a proper demarcation between nutritional ingredients and tax less, and it has to tax more for those ingredients which is high on sugar. Okay, so this is the overall aspect that the author tells. Now see, nutrition can be fought in two levels. As we started with the theory, the health profile of India can be improved at two levels. One is HFSS tax, nutritional literacy and effective food labeling. FSSI has to take this role. This has to come from the government through GST architecture, the changes in the GST architecture, and this has to come from the responsibility of both private and public entities. Okay, so overall we learned that India is moving towards non-communicable disease pandemic. It's a very unique type of pandemic that we are moving towards. This is also can be called as lifestyle pandemic. Okay, and if this trend reaches a stage where we have to spend more than $480 billion annually, then this itself becomes a huge cost for India to bear. Okay, and what are all the important facts that proves that we are moving towards a lifestyle pandemic is one, the World Bank report says worldwide 70% of the obesity or overweight people are located in low and middle income countries, and the recent trend says that 55% rise of this obesity and overweight is in rural areas. The next is in India, NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases, has already overtaken communicable diseases. From 38% in 1990s, we are almost seeing more than 2x increase of 65% in 2019. The global burden of disease study says annually in India there is 1.2 million deaths, that is purely on dietary risks alone, which shows that we are overly inclined towards sweets and carbohydrates. The fourth is economic impact of overweight and obesity in 2017 resulted in the loss of $23 billion, which is projected to rise to $480 billion in 2060 if we leave it unattended. That is what I'm telling is the lifestyle pandemic that we are going to reach. The next is the global tax as widely become popular with regards to sugar sweetened beverages. However, India still has to catch up to it. But when it comes to HFSS food tax, both India and globally are lagging behind, and hence we have to make sure that our taxation system are customized to suit the Indian nutritional adequacy and inadequacy. Okay, so in that way we have to follow the lines of Kerala. We have to include something called fat tax, that is in other words called as HFSS tax, if we have to overcome this lifestyle pandemic that we are heading towards. So overall, this is the first issue that the author talks about. Okay, let us go to the next issue. The next issue is Gyanvapi case. Religious character of a place of worship can be decided only in a trial, says Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court pointed out that 1991 Act has not defined religious character. Okay, so two things you have to understand. What is this Gyanvapi case? Okay, so if you take Gyanvapi case, basically what they are claiming, the Hindu plaintiffs who have filed the petition, they are claiming that the area where you have Gyanvapi mosque, the area that has Gyanvapi mosque and other regions surrounding it, in this region there was a temple, and the name of the temple was Swayambhu Lord Adi Vishweshwara. Okay, the temple's name was Swayambhu Lord Adi Vishweshwara temple, and this was destroyed by the Farman given by Aurangzeb in 1669. Okay, this was given by Farman given by Aurangzeb in 1669. Alright, so this is the case that is currently running around. Okay, and what these Hindu plaintiffs say is, they say that the religious character of the temple is not changed just because there is an destruction of the temple and erection of a alleged mosque. So this is what is the petitioner's view. So currently whatever mosque is there, they say that mosque is being constructed after destroying the temple, and the temple was this Swayambhu Lord Adi Vishweshwara temple. It was destroyed by the Farman given by Aurangzeb in 1669, and they say though this particular temple was destroyed and an alleged mosque has been constructed, they say that the religious character of the temple is not changed. So this is what is the Gyanvapi case. Alright, now the next thing that you should know is what is this 1991 Act these people are talking about. So let me just give you a background of what this is about. So we have something called Places of Worship Act 1991. So we have this act. So this act mandates that religious identity. It mandates that religious identity of a place of worship. Religious identity of a place of worship as it existed as August 15th 1947 should be retained. So look at this, what they tell is any religious identity of a place of worship, how it existed on August 15th 1947, that should be retained as it is. So this is what is the first the provision of Places of Worship Act 1991. So basically it is trying to protect whatever places of worship are there during the time of independence, so that post independence there should be not any harm brought to these places of worship. So this is the first important provision. Okay, now the next is section 3 of this Places of Worship Act. It says that it prevents any type of conversion. It prevents any type of conversion of a place of worship. It prevents any type of conversion of a place of worship in full or part of it. That is the section 3. It prevents any type of conversion of the place of worship in full or part of it. Okay. The next is section 4 of Places of Worship Act. This is basically maintenance of religious character. Maintenance of religious character. Okay. Now, what is religious character? Religious character is ensuring religious identity. Ensuring religious identity of a place of worship. Ensuring religious identity of a place of worship. It remains the same. So basically what Allahabad High Court is telling is, look at this, this section 4 tells that there is maintenance of religious character, but this 1991 Act has not defined what exactly is the religious character. It just tells that there is ensuring of religious identity of the place of worship. Okay, so the religious character. Now, how do we ensure that this particular maintenance of religious character or the interpretation of religious character of a place of worship, this can be decided by going to the court. This is what the Allahabad High Court has told. So, section 4 has now become open for the judiciary to intervene. That is what is the interpretation of Allahabad High Court. Okay. Now, the next is, now look at this. Places of Worship says it mandates that the religious identity of a place of worship as it existed on August 15, 1947 should be retained. Okay. And section 3 says it prevents any type of conversion henceforth. If this is the case, if they are fixing the date of August 15, 1947 as the point where whatever religious identity, however it has existed, should stay the same, then how is it that these Hindu plaintiffs or the petitioners have gone to the Allahabad High Court? The reason or the procedure how they have gone to the Allahabad High Court is through what they call as subsection 3 of D of section 4. Remember section 4. Okay, section 4 is maintenance of religious character, and under this section 4 maintenance of religious character we have subsection 3 of D, and in this subsection 3 of D it says that if there has been a conversion of a religious place, if there has been a conversion of a religious place much before the commencement of the act, okay, then these people can go to court to demand that particular conversion. That is the the people who are to party to such conversion then approach the court. That is what is told by the subsection 3 of D. So I hope you understood why these petitioners have gone to the Allahabad High Court, telling or complaining that Gyanvapi region has been a region of a temple that was destroyed by the Farman of Aurangzeb. The reason is because of the subsection 3 of D of section 4 that says that the conversion has taken place much before the act came in place during the year of 1669. And also they say that when this though the destruction of the temple, though the temple was destroyed, the religious character of the temple, the religious character of the temple is still present. Now again, this is what the petitioners have told. Though there is destruction of temple, the religious character of the temple is still present. So overall, this is something what the petitioners have gone ahead and told this point. Okay. However, since this is available within the act, it allows the people or the victims to go to the court in expectation of a remedy for any type of conversion that has done on a particular place of worship even before the act has been brought into force. Okay, so on these lines, the Places of Worship Act is now taken up by the Allahabad High Court, and we have to wait and check what the decisions is going to be. However, these are some of the important provisions of the Places of Worship Act. Basically, it is to conserve all the places of worship. No harm has to be done for those places of worship that were existing on August 15, 1947. There cannot be any type of conversion of places of worship in full or part according to Section 3. And Section 4 says that there has to be maintenance of religious character, that is ensuring the religious identity of the place of worship. Okay, so these are some of the important provisions of Places of Worship Act 1991. Okay, so this is about this issue. The next issue is use waterways to boost Odisha's coal movement. Okay, basically this article is talking about the latent potential. It is talking about the latent potential of inland waterways. Latent potential of inland waterways in India with a case study of Odisha. In India with a case study of Odisha. So this is what is this article talking about. So firstly, what the article tells is, it talks about the abysmally low share of inland water transport in the total transport mode of India. So it says, if we take the share of inland water transport to the total transport modal mix, if we take the inland transport with the total transport modal mix of India, the inland water transport will come only up to only 2%. Look at this. It is only 2% of the total transport modal mix that inland water transport contributes. This is again very low. Now, if you take the global average, the global average is somewhere between 15 to 18%. That is one. The second is, if you take Bangladesh alone, Bangladesh, the inland water transport adds to almost 30% of the total transport modal mix. Okay, this shows that India is still yet to develop its inland water transport. Okay, so this is one side of it. The other side is the works done. The other side is the works done by India with respect to inland water transport. The first point is, if you take India, in India we have 14,500 kilometers of navigable. In India you have 14,500 kilometers of navigable inland waterways. That is the first point. So that shows that the potential in India is very high. That is what is the takeaway. One, we have 14,500 kilometers of navigable inland waterways. The second, before we had 6 national waterways. But later on, the central government has now notified almost 111 national waterways in India. It has notified 111 national waterways in India across 24 states. It has notified 111 national waterways across India, across 24 states. The third is, if you take the inland water transport sector, and if you compare 2016-17 to 2022-23, the total luggage that, or the total cargo that it handled was 55 million tons in 2016-17. This is the cargo in 55 million tons. In 2022-23, the cargo that's handled is 126 million tons. So overall, you are seeing a rise in the cargo handled. Okay. The fourth one is also the overall traffic. The overall traffic in the inland water transport has increased by 16% in 2022-23. Okay, so all this points out that the works in the inland water transport is being done in India. For instance, we have 14,500 kilometers of navigable waterways. To exploit this potential, we have declared 111 national waterways across 24 states. And inland water transport cargo handling has increased by 55 million tons to 126 million tons in the last 5 years. And the overall traffic of inland water transport has seen a rise of 16% in the last year itself, that is 2022-23. However, only three states account to 3/4 of the traffic. Only 3 states account to 3/4 of the traffic in inland water transport. Okay, that is more than 65% of the traffic of inland water transport can be accounted only to 3 states. The 3 states are, one is Goa, the second is Maharashtra, and the third is Gujarat. Okay, this shows that there is a lot of imbalance in the growth of inland water transport in India. Okay, there is Goa, Maharashtra and Gujarat, which shows that inland water transport more is seen in the west coast compared to the east coast. Okay, so this is the works that are being done. Okay, however, if you look at this, only 2% of our total transport model mix comes under inland water transport, and only 3 states accounts to more than 65% of inland water transport traffic. It shows that yet there is a lot of work that needs to be done regarding the improvement of the potential of inland water transport in India. Okay, now just to give you a picture of the 6 important waterways, we have National Waterway 1 that runs from Haldia to Allahabad. It runs for 1620 kilometers. Okay, so as you can see, it is along this stretch. This is the National Waterway 1. Okay, the next is National Waterway 2, that is in Brahmaputra. It runs from Sadia to Dubri. It is 891 kilometers. As you can see here, this is what is the National Waterway 2. The next is National Waterway 3, which is known as West Coast Canal, that is Kollam to Kottapuram. Okay, Kollam to Kottapuram. This is the National Waterway 3. The National Waterway 4 is connecting Godavari and Krishna canals. It runs from Kakinada to Puducherry. As you can see, this is the Kakinada to Puducherry, that is National Waterway 4. The National Waterway 4 also covers the famous Buckingham Canal. Okay, the next is National Waterway 5. National Waterway 5 is again along Brahmani Delta. This is nothing but in Odisha and West Bengal. Okay, this connects basically in Odisha and West Bengal. It runs for 588 kilometers. Look at this. This is the National Waterway 5. And the last is National Waterway 6. This runs in Barak River. There's Barak River that rises in Manipur, and this stretch of National Waterway 6 is just 121 kilometers, the smallest among all, and it runs from Lakhimpur to Banga. Okay, as you can see, it is still in process. So overall, these are the famous 6 waterways. However, the government has declared 111 national waterways. However, they are still not developed or implemented. So this has to be looked into. Okay, so overall what the author says is, as we told, most of the traffic is coming from the west coast of India. The potential is very high in the east coast. So as an example, what the author does is, the author takes the example of Odisha. The author says, if you take Odisha is a land of rivers. Okay, so you have Brahmani, Baitarni, Rushikulya, Mahanadi. There are so many rivers of Odisha that provides potential, very high potential of inland water transport. The second is, it is a state that has declared 4 waterways within Odisha. That is one. And the next is, it has 2 important national waterways. One is National Waterway 5 and another is National Waterway 64. Okay, now the next thing what the author tells is, Odisha can use these waterways, okay, to transport minerals and coal. It seeks to transport coal. Why the author tells coal is, according to the author, Odisha accounts to 25% of coal reserves in India, and amongst this 25% of coal reserves, Talcher is a place where 50% of Odisha's production comes from. Okay, 50% of Odisha's production comes from a region called Talcher. Now, if you take NW5, that is National Waterway 5, National Waterway 5 will connect Talcher with 2 important ports, that is Paradweep Port and Dhamra Port. Okay, it connects the Odisha with 2 important ports, that is Paradweep Port and Dhamra Port. Since it connects with 2 ports in this Talcher, we can use this National Waterway 5 to transport coal more effectively. So the author says that we are not utilizing the potential of the east coast, and one such case study is the case study of Odisha. Okay, so these are all the factors that facilitate the usage of the rivers or inland water transport to transport minerals that can be more beneficial for a country like India to use the potential of more energy efficient way of transporting the goods for the growth of the economy. Okay, so this is the issue about the inland water transport in India. Okay, let us move on to the next issue. The next issue is, India leads global remittances charts with 125 billion in 2023 World Bank report. Okay, now this makes India the highest remittance recipient country. This makes India the highest remittance recipient country. That is the first thing. Okay, and the largest source of remittance is coming from USA. The largest source of remittance is coming from USA. Now, if you take the top three countries that receive high remittances, the first is India. Okay, the second is Mexico, and the third is China. These are the top three that receives highest remittances. India is $125 billion, Mexico is $67 billion, and China is just $50 billion. So if you see, India has more than, or if I have to put it in other words, the second country has less than half of what India receives. Are you seeing the lead that India has with respect to remittances? This is a good news for India. The reason is because of India's diaspora. Okay, India's diaspora is not only spread out, but India's diaspora is highly skilled and it is a high value human resource all around the globe. So just a little background about India's diaspora. If I have to give a background of India's diaspora, then one, I am giving this according to the Ministry of External Affairs. One, overall we have 29 million Indians who are categorized as non-resident Indians or people of Indian origin. So overall, the total is 29 million Indian diaspora that lives outside India. The second is every year 25 lakh people from India will migrate overseas. Every year 25 lakh people from India will migrate overseas. Okay, and this shows that we have the highest annual migrants in the world. We account to highest annual migrants in the world. The third is, if I have to arrange from the greatest to the lowest the diaspora in the world, the highest diaspora is in USA, then comes UAE, then comes Saudi Arabia, then comes Malaysia, the next comes Myanmar, the next comes UK, and the next comes South Africa. So I have given you the top 7 distribution of Indian diaspora from highest to the least. Okay, the first is USA, the second is UAE, the third is Saudi Arabia, the fourth is Malaysia, fifth is Myanmar, sixth is UK, seventh is South Africa. So this is the background of Indian diaspora, and it is because of such vibrant, skilled and high value Indian diaspora that today India receives the highest remittances recipient country in the world, that accounts to almost $125 billion. Okay, so this is a very proud information, as well as this is something that we have to be proud of our Indian diaspora around the world. Okay, not only are they helping in policy making, in spreading the values of spreading the values of India, but also in sending back such very critical funds that can help in the growth and development of India as a country. Okay, with this, let us move on to the next issue. The next issue is WHO tags JN1 strain as variant of interest as COVID cases rise. Okay, so JN1 was previously classified as a variant of interest as part of its parent lineage, that is called BA 2.86. Okay, this BA 2.86 is also known as Pirola. Okay, this variant called the parent lineage Pirola. So JN1 was previously called the variant of interest. However, it was seen as a part of the lineage of Pirola. Now what they have told is, they have told JN1 is the variant of interest. Okay, they have designated it as a variant of interest that is separate from its parent lineage. Okay, now what is this variant being designated as? Variant of interest. Okay, let us understand why WHO will designate a variant as variant of interest. Okay, so if I take variant of interest, a variant can be designated as variant of interest. One, if it shows growth advantage. Okay, what do you mean by growth advantage? When I say growth advantage, it is compared relative to It is compared relative to other circulating variants. Other circulating variants. That is, if with the growth of cases, if the proportion of this variant also rises. See, the cases can rise because of different variants. Okay. However, if the growth of cases happens, and along with the growth of cases, the proportion of this variant also rises directly. If both are rising parallelly to one another, then we can decide that this variant becomes the variant of interest. Okay, that is what is the growth advantage. That is, you are looking at the growth of the COVID cases. Now the COVID cases can happen because of different variants of COVID. However, if it is happening because of JN1 mainly, then JN1 will be decided or declared or designated as the variant of interest. That is one reason. This is known as variant of interest being designated because of growth advantage. Okay. The second reason why variant of interest, a variant can be defined as a variant of interest, is because of its characteristics. It's because of its changing characteristics. Okay. The second reason why it can be designated as a variant of interest is because of its changing characteristics. The changing characteristics can be following. One, transmissibility. It can increase its transmissibility. It can be via air, via water, via other things. So as the medium increases, transmissibility also increases. Next is virulence. How much virality can it create? The next is antibody evasion. Okay. The next is susceptibility. Okay. Susceptibility to therapy. Susceptibility to therapy and diagnostics. Okay. So the second reason is changing characteristics of the variant. If the variant becomes highly transmissible, if the variant becomes highly virulent, if the variant is evading the antibodies, and if the variant is less susceptible to therapy and diagnostics, then also because of its changing characteristics, the variant can be named as the variant of interest. Okay, so WHO will make sure that a variant is designated as a variant of interest under two headings. One, because it is showing growth advantage, or the second is because it is showing changing characteristics. So once any variant is declared as a variant of interest, the WHO will now monitor the this particular variant very closely regarding its global spread. Okay, it will create a monitoring network around the globe to make sure that this variant is not spread, and wherever these variants are spread, they will declare it as hotspots, and they will take several steps to make sure that the hotspots are quarantined and the virus or variants will die down there itself. So that is the main methodology or the main process of declaring a variant as a variant of interest. So this is what is the news. WHO tags JN1 strain as a variant of interest as COVID cases rise. Okay, before it was done as a part of its parent called Pirola. Now it is JN1 is decided as a variant of interest separate from its parent lineage. The reason is mainly because of its growth advantage. That is, with the rise in cases, the proportion of this virus is also, or the proportion of this variant is also increasing. That is why they have declared it as the variant of interest. Okay, so I hope the issues were helpful, and I hope you people are learning from it. So if you have loved this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Okay, so I hope to see you tomorrow again, and I hope if you have any type of feedback or any type of active engagement on the issues, please post it in the comment section. Whatever post that comes in the comment section acts as an incentive for us to work more harder, because we feel that our viewers are also very active, and that itself will push us to go one step ahead. With that, I would like to end today's issues. Please make sure that you like, share and subscribe, and share this video with as many people as possible so that it incentivizes us to also keep working hard. With that, I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Goodbye.